Please welcome best-selling author and human guinea pig, A.J. Jacobs.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very excited to be here. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Disembodied Voice, who introduced me. I thought today I might talk about some Judaism. See if not now, when. I actually grew up with very little religion at all. As I say in my books, I'm Jewish, but I'm Jewish in the same way the Olive Garden is Italian. So, not very. Poor Olive Garden. It's a good restaurant. Anyway, I had no bar mitzvah. We didn't do seders. I actually, until shockingly recently, thought that the half Torah was literally 50% of a Torah. Like someone had chopped it in half, which seemed sacrilegious to me, but even me, who was not very religious. The one Jewish trait that my parents instilled in me was a love of reading and writing. So that's what led me to my current job. And just to give you a quick background on my writing, what I like to do is I like to dive in and really immerse myself in my topics. So to give you an example, I work at Esquire magazine, and a few years ago, I hired a team of people in Bangalore, India, to do everything for me. So they answered my phone, and they answered emails for me. They argued with my wife for me, which was excellent. And it was the greatest month of my life because I just got to read books and watch movies. After that, I wrote an article for Esquire on a movement called Radical Honesty. And this is a movement that believes that you should never lie. But they go further than that. They say whatever's on your mind should come out of your mouth. No filter. So I tried that for a month, and that was the worst month of my life. That I do not recommend at all. I took the idea of Jewish learning a little further with my first book, which was about my year and a half spent reading the entire Encyclopedia Britannica from A to Z, or from Ak to Ziviech, to be more precise. And this was because I wanted to learn as much as I could, and it was a challenging year, especially for my wife, who started to fine me $1 for every irrelevant fact I inserted into conversation. But it was also a fascinating and life-affirming experience. So I wanted to do something similar, and I thought, what is an even more influential book that I could take on? And that's how I came up with the idea to write a book about the Bible. And since I like to learn things by doing them, I decided that I was going to learn about the Bible by living it, by walking in the sandals of our forefathers. So I got a board of spiritual advisors, of rabbis and scholars and ministers as well, and I went through the Bible and I wrote down every rule, every piece of advice that I could find in there. And as you guys know, that is quite a long list, hundreds of rules, 613 by many counts. And I said, I'm going to try to follow all of these rules without picking and choosing and see how they affect my life. So, which ones make my life better and which ones are maybe not as relevant. So I wanted to follow the famous ones. There's the Britannic, the 10 Commandments, and love your neighbor, and be fruitful and multiply. And by the way, I was fruitful and did multiply. I had twin boys during my year, so thank you. Thanks. It's a cheap way to get applause, but I like, what are you going to do? But I also wanted to follow the laws that are often overlooked. So the Bible says that you cannot shave the corners of your beard. That's in Leviticus. And I didn't know where the corners were, so I just let the whole thing grow. And by the end, I had quite the, that's in the beginning, middle. There I am at the end. So quite the topiary going on. I spent a lot of time at airport security, as you might imagine. the Leviticus also says that you cannot wear clothes made of mixed fiber, wool and linen. It's called shatnez, as you might know. And this one seems so strange to me, never having grown up in Judaism. It seemed like God was micromanaging here. Why would he care? But I said, there's no way for me to know the meaning of this rule than to try it. So I did. I got rid of all of my mixed fibers. And interestingly, by the end of the year, many of the stranger rules did sort of take on meaning for me. Not that one in particular, but still can't figure that one out. But many of the others. It was a fascinating year, and it was also very difficult because I had to not covet, not lie, not gossip. All of these are in the Bible, and I live in New York City, and I work as a journalist. So this was like 70% of my day. There are also rules about that sort of conflicted with our modern American customs, like stoning adulterers. That was a challenge. I was able to stone one adulterer. I'll just tell very quickly. I was in Central Park, and I was wearing my full regalia because there I am. That's for something else. There I am. Anyway, that is. So he came up to me and he's like, "Why are you dressed like that?" And I explained, "I'm trying to follow the Ten Commandments from the Bible, from the Ten Commandments to stoning adulterers." And he says, "Well, I'm an adulterer. Are you going to stone me?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that'd be great. I have been waiting for this moment." So I had been carrying around stones, hoping to run into an adulterer. So I took them out of my pocket, and they were small, more pebbles. And he was very aggressive. He grabbed the stones out of my hand and threw them at my face. So I thought, the Bible does say an eye for an eye. So that's how I checked that off. Now, after the year, I did shave my beard and I stopped stoning adulterers. But there were many, many things that I've kept because this project did connect me with my Judaism for the first time in my life. One of the biggest lessons I learned was how much behavior changes your thoughts. This is actually a very Jewish notion. I didn't realize this, but deed before creed is a phrase we use in Judaism. And if you just follow the rules, you will start to see the wisdom of them. And it's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than to think yourself into a new way of acting. So I would pretend to be a better person. I would pretend to be compassionate. What would a compassionate person do? And then eventually I became a little bit of a better person. I also ended up, after the year, my wife and I did join a synagogue. Now, it is Reform, and we don't really go. So we go sometimes. But someone earlier was saying it's like a gym membership. You feel good, you're a member. Just being a member, you lose weight, I think. Same with this. I feel I'm more Jewish just by being a member. And I've learned to love the rituals of Judaism, like the Seder. And I like being part of a community. And I want my kids I've decided that we do want to give them a Jewish education because I actually don't care if they decide not to become observant when they're older. As long as they're mensches, I'll be happy. But I thought I would give them a foundation so that they could choose from a place of knowledge. The last thing I wanted to mention is that I have a new book coming out in April that's sort of related to Judaism, but not really. It's called Drop Dead Healthy, and it's about my quest to be the healthiest person alive. I followed all the medical advice. And actually, before that, I fulfilled the Jewish stereotype of not really paying attention to my body, focusing too much on the mind and not on the body. So this was 2 years devoted to diet and exercise and my sex life, if you want to read about that, that's in there. My posture. I tried all these things like the caveman workout. That's what that is. This is how you take off your shoes and your shirt and you throw boulders around. And I embraced something called Judaism in addition to Judaism. Judaism is a movement on the internet by people who believe that we need to chew more, that we are a nation of under-chewers. And it's actually very unhealthy not to chew. You don't get the nutrients, and you eat too quickly, which is very important. But being a member of a community actually had a big impact on my health year, because health is not just about food and exercise. It's also about social interaction. And if you look at the studies, it turns out that religious people tend to live longer than non-religious people. And that's mostly because they are part of a tight-knit community. Or maybe God likes them better and wants to punish all the evildoers. But the scientists say it's because they are part of a community, and having that tight-knit support is so key. So I wanted to say congratulations to you for being part of a community. And as another Jew said, live long and prosper.